was brought to you by Program lineup on WBS TV is brought to you by
OLX, everything sells.
Here is how it works. Download the OLX app. Take a picture of what you want to sell. Post it on OLX, meet the buyer, and get some serious cash. That is it. Easy.
Program lineup on WBS TV. You are watching WBS TV.
Hello, good evening. It is the 16th day of February 2015. Hello and welcome to WBS Prime News Live. I'm Anita Mwangwazi, but first, let's have a look at what's coming up.
That one cannot happen because that one is being segregated. That discrimination can be challenged in the courts of law.
NRM caucus Changkwanzi resolutions to have independents cross the floor and switch to any party likely to call for legal action.
I oppose this idea of reburial of Amin just to please Museveni and to say people have reconciled with him. What did Museveni say about Amin when he first died?
The proposal to return former President Idi Amin's remains from Saudi Arabia, treated as state-generated ploy to gain political mileage for NRM.
Nobody interfered in the investigations whatsoever, not even the President of the Republic of Uganda.
Chairperson of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee investigating the Standard Gauge Railway saga denies having interrogated U.S. diplomats.
Goalkeepers to trip to Maputo to play against Mozambique in All African Games.
And in sports, the under-23 football team, the Cobs, have entered residential training ahead of their All-Africa Games qualifier against Mozambique. It's good to have you with us. With calls for the remains of the fallen Ugandan leader Idi Amin to be returned home gaining momentum, the first opposing voice emerges from West Nile as Obongi County MP Hassan Kaps Fungaro dismisses the rhetorics as state-generated to gain relevance with the post-1986 generation. Speaking to the press from Parliament, the legislator in Barrios cannot in any way contribute to national reconciliation without addressing the deep-rooted concerns of what he calls marginalized communities.
The name of Idi Amin Dada continues to enjoy frequent mentions even years after he passed on, with religious leaders igniting the calls for his remains to be returned home for the sake of national reconciliation. Obongi County lawmaker Hassan Kaps Fungaro throws in the spanner, dismissing the calls as unnecessary.
I oppose this idea of reburial of Amin just to please Museveni and to say people have reconciled with him. What did Museveni say about Amin when he first died? And for me, I'm a Muslim. Amin was a Muslim. I know as far as it's stated in the Quran, If someone dies, he's buried wherever he dies.
In his address to the press, the MP reasons that there's nothing beyond a campaign to strike a chord with the young population that he says tags their problems on President Yoweri Museveni.
I would like to tell the clergy, particularly with due respect, people who spoke from Kidgum in this reburial, that reconciliation, national reconciliation, cannot be brought back by reburial of Amin, reburial of General Tito. We need a national reconciliation, but it should not be on our knees. National reconciliation can only happen if it is Museveni who is prompted to ask for it.
Historical differences, the MP reasons, should first be addressed among the different communities to set pace for legitimate reconciliation.
The only reconciliation we need first is a reconciliation between the divided people, the developed groups in northern Uganda. Acholi versus West Nile. We are being divided in this thing of divide and rule. They say Acholis are people of Obote, people of Tito, people who killed the Amin's people, Amin who killed the Acholi people. The Langi and Acholi cannot sit side by side. They are divided. This divisionism is manipulated and used by President Museveni.
The MP says West Nile, a main Som region, has been betrayed by big guns in government whom he says have failed to advance the agenda of their people.
Where are the people of UNRF 1 who fought with Moses Ali and joined the government? Where are they in the government? Where are they? They are not there. So they are marginalized. General Moses Ali should be the one asked to join the opposition. He should transform UNRF 1 into a political party and he contest for presidency so that he can address the problems of his people, which he has failed to address through his being a member of NRM and being even a third or second deputy prime minister.
The call comes hours after the remains of another former leader, Basilio Okello, were reburied in the country after numerous years. Sabit Joseph, WS Television, Parliament.
A street kid who posed as the chief executive officer of a Street Kid Foundation, a community-based organization in Gulu, is under detention at Gulu police station after he allegedly conned several millions from parents promising free education to their children. He also kept the girls in local lodges after the parents gave their children to him to get scholarships.
23-year-old Peter Dickens Okwir has been a street child in Gulu town. He was arrested after parents raised a concern that was investigated by the area leaders. The suspect was keeping 56 children who were not going to school even after their parents paid money to get the scholarship.
All these children have not been going to school for close to 2 weeks. And the parents did not know where they were sleeping. Girls of 14, 15, 16, and the boys of also the same age bracket could be taken to lodges. They would share rooms. These parents did not know.
It's a very bad experience I have had, involving children, and it actually touched me so much.
The parents then pitched camp at the office of the resident district commissioner, demanding for a refund of their money. Okwir conned over 10 million shillings from the parents and allegedly used the money to pay for lodges to accommodate the children, buy food and pay for LC1 letters as they waited for their travel to respective schools. One parent paid 1 million shillings for her 15 children in the scholarship drive. Parents say they got suspicious after waiting in vain for endorsement of their forms by the district chairman and the RDC. After they finished narrating the ordeal, the parents were ordered by the RDC and Rawany to board the pickup and go to the police station for detention for aiding the crime. The announcement sent shock to them. One parent collapsed and was rushed to hospital. Gulu District 2010 ordinance mandates every parent to send their children to school when the term opens. Chairman Martin Ojara Mapenduzi and RDC and Rawany say both the suspect and the parents should face the law and act as an example to the rest.
So how do you abandon your child and you do not even know where the child is sleeping? And so the police should be able to pursue this case and hold the parents accountable.
I think we should use these parents to send some message to the community so that other parents begin to learn. We have advocated seriously that we have government schools, PLE schools, that do not pay much.
This is the third time in 5 years that fake organizations and individuals are recruiting children in a scholarship scam.
Women activists under their umbrella organization Uganda Women's Network UONET demand that the 9th Parliament passes the marriage and divorce bill before their term expires. They argue that this is to save women who are oppressed by their spouses. The group threatens women will not vote back any MPs if they do not pass this bill.
Uganda Women's Network, UONET, says the bill is long overdue and has left majority of women at the mercy of their spouses with no rights to property.
We're asking for the Parliament to present before the floor of Parliament the report on their consultation on the marriage and divorce and ensure that this bill is passed into law.
The bill was presented on the floor of Parliament in February 2013, debated, and about 20 clauses were passed, but the process was halted to allow members of Parliament to consult the public on some contentious clauses. Each member of Parliament was given 5 million shillings for consultations, but no report of the findings of the consultation has ever been presented in Parliament to guide further proceedings, and the women activists want the legislators to account for the taxpayers' money.
Things don't work out and they feel they want to separate or fall out, as they feel that is what they want to do, there will be an equal share. And if it's in terms of compensation, talk about in the origin, if it's about compensation, it's not the man only taking the hot cake and then sharing it with the concubine somewhere else.
The women are also pushing for gender-responsive constitutional amendments in areas of representation by reducing the members of Parliament by having one man and one woman representing a district, and to have political parties allocate 40% of their budget to women leagues of their parties. Stella Nabakoza, WBS TV, Kampala.
The chairman of the Northern Uganda Parliamentary Group, Felix Okoto-Ogongo, has trashed a move by his party, the ruling NRM, to adopt and push for a constitutional amendment that will enable independent MPs cross the floor of Parliament and switch to any political party of their choice with representation in Parliament. Speaking in an interview, Okoto described this move as discriminatory, segregative, and would call for a constitutional petition. However, independent MP engineer Robert Kafedo Sechitoleko reveals that the move will not attract any legal challenge since it doesn't seek to change Article 43 of the Constitution. It will only add some text to it. As our senior political reporter Timothy Sibasi reports, constitutional law expert Chris Ayena says in the constitutional law, it's difficult to challenge a parliamentary amendment in the courts of law.
In what is now feared to cause another controversy on the floor of Parliament and a recipe to political split on the side of the ruling party in the August House is an adopted move by the NRM caucus retreat to enable independent MPs to cross the floor and switch to any political party with representation in Parliament. NRM's Felix Okoto-Ogongo and chairman for the Northern Uganda Parliamentary Group say the move is suicidal and would call for a constitutional petition.
So that one cannot happen because that one is being segregative and discrimination. You see now the constitution is very clear and you cannot now pick only the independents and allow them to cross, leaving other members, party members. That discrimination can be challenged in the courts of law.
You cannot go to court to challenge what we are trying to do for one reason. We are not going to delete the article 83(1)(h). No, we are just going to add something within.
Whereas this move was well thought of by a clique of 38 independent MPs who joined the NRM caucus retreat in Chankwanzi, constitutional law expert Chris Ayena says it will be very difficult for parliamentary amendment to be challenged by any court.
But I think that there must be a general clause, especially 6 months to general election. members, all parties, should be allowed to realign themselves, to cross from one part to another, and that will not cause by-election.
In spite of this legal controversy, both Okot Ogong and Ayena says the independents can only be on a safe side if their proposal is left to cut across all political parties represented in Parliament.
So when we brought up the idea, also the NRM members stood up and began the bargain on their side. There was no way we as independents could bring up a case for them. But good enough, this provoked theirs, and indeed now they are brainstorming about it.
But Ayena says the manner in which the independent MPs were donned in the ruling party retreat colours and fully participated can be subject to legal interpretation.
What I saw on TV, I mean, as if it was not bad enough to be party to the proceedings of a political party to which they substantially do not belong to, or they do not legally belong to. They donned even the attire, the uniform of the party.
However, criminalizing independents who attended the NRM Chankwanzi may be difficult since the Constitution of Uganda is silent on political associations.
The Constitution does not talk about association. Well, if it is association, I would define association as being distinctly separable, even by way of conduct from the other side, but being available for discussions or cooperating on ordinary matters.
Apparently, the 9th Parliament has 46 independent MPs. Out of this number, 38 MPs were originally NRM supporters who lost in the 2011 party primaries and decided to contest as independents and made it to the 9th Parliament. But they have remained loyal to the NRM to the extent that they attend NRM caucus retreats in spite of the existing legal regime refraining them to do so. Timothy Bassi, Star Vision, Parliament.
Now that story forms the basis for our discussion platform tonight when we ask if independent MPs are allowed to cross the floor of Parliament and switch to any party of their choice at any time they want. What would this mean for Uganda's constitution and opposition in Parliament? Some of your thoughts here on Facebook. Gad Victor Ongo, you say Uganda might end up not having any opposition members of Parliament because their integrity will easily be compromised by the ruling party. Kakande Charles, you say it's just a new tactic to weaken the opposition. And Young Rich Live, you say that that cannot strengthen the opposition. It will just bring conflicts among the leaders in the opposition. And finally, for now, Hamim Simba, you say that's just a fundamental mistake. You're welcome to be part of this discussion on our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/WBSTV Uganda. And we'll definitely get to your thoughts as you get along with the bulletin. We're so glad you're still watching WBS Prime News Live. Now we have a reminder of our top stories. The Ugandan judiciary mourns the tragedy that claimed lives of 2 police officers, and a street kid who posed as CEO of Street Kid Foundation under detention. And women activists demand that Parliament passes the marriage and divorce bill before their term expires.
Think you have nothing to sell? Look around your home. You'll find something you don't use anymore that you can sell on OLX.
Simply download the OLX app, take a photo of the item you want to sell, post it on OLX for free, meet the buyer, and tunda! OLX, everything sells.
Welcome back to WBS Prime News Live. The chairperson of the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee investigating the alleged standard gauge railway scam, Engineer Robert Sechitoleko Kafero, has finally hit back at his critics in Parliament that he was not under any political pressure from President Museveni to cross-examine former U.S. broker Rosa Whittaker in the SGR scam in Camera. Sechitoleko speaking in an exclusive interview after his trip to China to ascertain the financial portfolio of a Chinese company, China Harbour and Engineering Corporation, which won the SGR contract award, said he decided to cross-examine Whittaker in camera in accordance to the parliamentary rules of procedure, which allow to cross-examine a witness who feels uncomfortable to divulge information to the public. Our senior political reporter Timothy Sebasi spoke to Sechitoleko and filed this report.
In what has sounded as a hit back to his fellow MPs who accused him of exhibiting double standards when he interrogated former U.S. diplomat Rosa Whittaker in camera, who was the main broker in the standard gauge railway deal linking the Uganda government to a Chinese company, check in a deal that attracted a kickback of close to 4 trillion Uganda shillings to UPDF Engineering Brigade and some individuals. The chairperson of the SGR probe, Engineer Robert Sechitoleko Kafero, has denied that he was under presidential pressures to protect Whittaker.
I want to assure the nation that nobody interfered in the investigations whatsoever, not even the President of the Republic of Uganda. I actually salute him for that, because I thought when I was announced chairperson, now I'm going to receive phone calls pressurizing me to do this or that. He has never called me in regard of pressurizing.
Sechitoleko, sounding furious in this interview, want his rival MPs in the House to cite any parliamentary rule of procedure that bar him from interrogating a witness in camera.
While chairing these meetings, I am guided by the rules of procedure of Parliament of Uganda. Rule 223, sub-rule 3, says that the chairperson of the committee may choose at any one moment to remove or to send out strangers and even lock the doors of the chambers or the meeting room. So I am acting under the rules of procedures of Parliament.
Sechitoleko and members of the probing team are accused to have been compromised by the powers that be to flee to China and meet the president of the Chinese company and query China Harbour and Engineering Corporation, alleged of having no competence in railway construction. However, in the interview, Sechitoleko denied having been compromised on his tour to China with members of the probe. I asked him what the mission was all about.
When we went to China, we had issues we were looking for. First of all, we wanted to establish the legal and commercial status of these companies. We wanted to know their networks within China and elsewhere. We wanted to know their technical capacity.
He also turned down reports that after cross-examining President Museveni about his role in the entire SGR deal, he was timid to continue with the probe exercise.
The probe is still going on. After we met the Fountain of Honor, we did meet more witnesses, though some of them were met in camera, and it is provided for within our rules of procedure.
In spite of these controversies surrounding the standard gauge railway construction, the probe team is left with only 1 month to submit its report to the office of the Speaker and be tabled on the floor of Parliament. Timothy Sebasi, the Star Vision, Parliament.
2 days after 2 police cops were killed in Bujiri by unknown assailants, the Uganda judiciary has said this tragedy is a signal to double-check the security of officials. The officers Abdallah Karim Tenywa and Muzamiru were shot on Saturday night in Kapyanga sub-county.
The 2 police officers who were guarding the home of Justice Faith Mwanda, Judge of the Court of Appeal and a former Inspector General of Government, were shot Saturday night. The Inspector General of Police, Kale Kaihura, has since led a team of officers investigating the number of 2 police officers in Butchery district. The publicist of the Uganda judiciary has now said the shooting is a checklist on the security of the judicial officers.
Ugandans, we condemn the barbaric act that took place in Butchery.
Arali is also skeptical on adding security officers to the judicial officers, saying unless advised otherwise, he sees no cause. Arali, who condemned the murder, says much as this was the first time such happened, the judiciary will have to condemn it. He says much as business went on normally at the judiciary, the judicial officers can't just take this for granted.
Continue to operate normally, tension created that will drive.
The deceased Abdallah Karim Tenywa and Muzamiru Babale were attached to Butchery Central Police Station, were gunned down by unknown men traveling on a motorcycle. Their assailants are believed to have taken off with the 2 rifles the officers were carrying. The officers have been riding bicycles from their police station to Monda's home, a distance of at least 10 kilometers. Kaihura, who was traveling from Butchery, promised to return to the district today to continue the investigations.
To matters of health now. The Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda, says the East, Central and Southern African governments, if they are to succeed in health coverage, should greatly incorporate partnerships, strong governance systems, and build the technical capacity of their population. Rugunda says lack of top partnerships during the Ebola pandemic in West Africa is what caused the deaths of over 6,000 people, and calls for the importance of strengthening cooperations, calling it crucial.
9 member countries from the East, Central and Southern Africa, developing partners inclusive, are converging at the Speak Resort Munyonyo to discuss the need to incorporate universal health coverage to build capacity for the population in the fight against the tropical epidemic diseases. Dr. Ruhakana Rugunda was the chief guest at the opening of the conference, told the congregation there that without universal health coverage, Africa is in trouble.
Africa was hit, as you all know, by the deadly Ebola outbreak, the worst of its kind.
In spite of Rugunda's remarks, the existence of the East, Central and Southern Africa Health Community has not been underrated. It has improved in strength and broadly reflecting growth in the health sector. The World Health Organization Regional Director Dr. Wondi Alem says countries in the region have made considerable progress to realization of the Millennium Development Goals. This has led to an effective, efficient and quality health in Africa, but may be rendered fragile if the post-2015 agenda is not followed.
A strong and resilient health system is not only critical for preventing outbreaks like the Ebola outbreak, but is also very crucial for sustaining achievements for universal health coverage and certainly better health outcomes.
Countries in this region, however, are witnessing emerging rise in non-communicable diseases like diabetes and cancer, a major challenge to governments in Africa. Disease burden in Uganda cannot go unmentioned. Uganda has seen a shuttling raid of Ebola, Marburg and nodding disease. This has left it with informed decisions and lessons. Amalan Zmak for WBS at the Speak Resort Hotel in Munyonyo.
Employers continue to violate the International Labour Organization HIV/AIDS Convention by dismissing their employees living with HIV. This is a complaint raised by truck drivers who now seek for protection under the convention. Emerging reports from Uganda Long Distance and Heavy Trucks Association, a body that brings together all truck drivers from the region, indicates that many employers still contravene this convention by retrenching their employees who have health problems, including those living with HIV.
Converged here, truck drivers from Uganda to deliberate on a number of issues, including work policies on HIV/AIDS. Speaking to WBS TV, the chairperson of the association, Tadeo Magina, they are lobbying governments in the East African community to have ARVs distribution networks that can help them access drugs even when they are on safari trips within the region. Statistics show that truck drivers are among most at-risk populations to contracting the HIV/AIDS virus, and few of these know their status.
Your employer will be expecting you following the guidelines of the company, but with you, because you didn't disclose to them your health status, maybe you will fail to come for a week.
You know, when somebody is living positively, it's always on and off. And the employers, when they are not in the know, then really the employer will get fed up. You work 1 month, the next 3 months you are off, then you come back 2 weeks, another 2 months you are off.
According to Magina, most of their members have lost jobs after defaulting on drugs during and while on safaris away from their respective countries.
They've been fired from work because they didn't disclose their health status to their employers.
You can decide to lay you off. But having a policy in place and in practice is a different thing. The members themselves fear. They have what we call self-stigma. They don't want to follow up what is within the agreement as far as HIV and AIDS are concerned.
Taking a leaf from their counterparts from Kenya, these truck drivers have formulated the Usafari Club that will continue to lobby for decent working policies at their workplaces, including observation of HIV/AIDS policy practices by their employers.
If you have a union, it's good to disclose your status because you can be helped.
The drugs he's taking are finished when he's in transit. When he presents that card in another country, because even there are telephone numbers of general secretaries of those unions, they will make sure that he gets the drugs in that country where he is within the East African region, not coming back.
Tunjoroge, Uganda drivers should have formed such a platform way back to help them live decent working conditions in their respective countries.
We're so glad you're still watching WBS Prime News Live. Now a reminder of our top stories. The Ugandan judiciary condemns the tragedy that claimed the lives of 2 police officers. A street kid who posed as CEO of Street Kid Foundation remains under detention. And women activists under their umbrella organization UONET demand that the marriage and divorce bill be passed.
I cherish children because they're important in our country. I show interest in what they do, I listen to what they say, so as they aspire to be the best, respecting children teaches them how to respect others.
You see, a good school equals to a better life. Because a violence-free childhood is everyone's right. Raising Voices.
WBS invites applicants for the following career opportunities: Human Resource Manager and a News Director. Qualification: applicants must be university graduates in the relevant fields, at least 3 years relevant working experience, self-driven and can work under minimum supervision, creative with a positive attitude. Send your application together with a copy of your CV and supporting documents to WBS Television, WBS House, Plot 13, Nakuru Summit View Road, PO Box 5914, Kampala, Uganda. For inquiries, call 0414-344-314 or 0751-888-181. Deadline for applications is 27th February 2015.
Welcome back to WBS Prime Business. Advertising is regarded as the lifeblood of modern business, but on the other hand, advertising is also considered a distraction, taking people away from reality and into the realm of artificiality, where they are driven to buy what they don't need or buying poor quality products because an advert says it is the best thing. As huge amounts of money are being spent on advertising throughout the world. In our tonight's Consumer Digest, we explore the negative and positive face of advertising towards influencing consumer behavior.
Advertisements will let us know what new products to look out for, induce us to change our tastes or spending habits, or inspire loyalty to the old. Different types of adverts on television, radio, magazines, newspapers, the internet, billboards and posters can influence consumers' behavior positively or negatively, as there are different arguments and opinions. Taking Kampala by storm are billboards, and we ask marketers what they look out for when choosing locations.
If you are a product, say a bank, and you're advertising a product who is targeting the high-end corporates, the salaried workers, then it's not appropriate for you to put maybe your billboard downtown where most of the people there are not interested.
If a consumer is driving or walking, once they shoot their eyes on the billboard, within the first 3 to 5 seconds, they should get the information.
Kampala is now a home to at least more than 10 local, regional and international agencies, including Alliance Media, Clear Channel, Capital Outdoor, Brand Active, Infinity Media, so many. This industry seems to be developing fast. Advertising is taking the country by storm, and marketers give some tips on what not to do when choosing an advert.
It is always important that once you have a campaign, you go and try it out there and test it. And you sample it and you get the feedback from the user, and then that will give you whether people understand the message or what you're trying to convey.
Now, one of the mistakes that advertisers or us marketers do is to try putting a lot of information in a billboard, because for the driving traffic, they cannot be able to read all this information in one go. If you're talking about price, you're talking about a campaign, those words should stand out in bold, for lack of a better word. And once they shoot out...
Commercial advertisers often seek to generate increased consumption of their products or services through branding, which involves associating a product name or image with certain qualities in the minds of consumers.
Welcome to Consumer Digest, and tonight, to follow this story and build a little bit more on it, we're joined in studio by Sebagala Chigozi, the Executive Director, Uganda Manufacturers Association, to discuss advertising, manufacturers, and where the consumer comes in. Welcome.
Thank you, Anita.
It is often argued that if the cost of advertising is too high, then this cost will be moved on to the consumer. Is this the case, really?
Thank you once again. It's definitely the case. Why? Because every time you have any production, when we are in the production chain, we don't look at one item singularly. We take the whole set from A to Z. And advert is part of the package, or what we call production cost. We embed it in it, we put it in it, or it's embedded in the cost, and at the end of the day, who faces the burden is the last consumer. So it's part and parcel for those who do the advert part of it. But there are some companies or some products which you don't necessarily need advertisement.
Actually, that's where I was going to take you. Is it always necessary to advertise? Can't a company live without advertising?
There are some companies, especially small ones, which don't necessarily need advertising because their products, they have very few products to advertise. But if you really produce widely, there is always a need for it. But if you have 1, 2, 3 few items and they are always going, even before you think about putting them on the shelf, people are fighting for them. Why should you? Because advertising is a result of getting people's attention as far as your product is concerned. But if it is already known and people are fighting for it, then what is the use?
Then there is the other aspect of adverts being misleading. Sometimes they will give you promises that aren't even there. So the consumer goes to buy something hoping it will give them something only to get disappointed. Are there regulations against this?
Yes, there are. Regulations are there, regulations are not there. Yes and no. Yes, in the way that there are some products that are internationally recognized. There are those which are ISO certified, there are those which are UNBS certified, and so on and so forth. If what you are advertising is not properly certified, it's not allowed, because you will be contaminating, you will be poisoning the community, contaminating the community, etc. But if something is not registered, there is no way you can accuse somebody of saying that he sold you something which is not worth. In any case, any item that one consumes she must look at it and make sure that every certification mark is embedded on that product. Less that, you are doing it at your own risk.
Yes, there is certification, but there is also duplication, and we have plenty of that going on here in Uganda.
Yes, that is true to a certain extent, but those which are credible products, basically, adulteration is not very easy. Of course, duplication is not very easy for credible products. One of the problems and challenges we have here is people taking everything for granted. For sure, why do you go in, especially for foods, beverages, and soaps and oils? Why should you buy something for the sake of buying because it is cheap? Look at it and be very sure it is the right one. If once in a while by accident it happens, then that's a different thing. But you should always be careful when you're buying something. Look at it. Even if it is certified, look at the expiry date. When was it manufactured? When is it expiring? So that you take something where you are sure, or for which you are sure you're buying the right thing. Otherwise, you may be risking your life.
Advertising also places consumers in a position where they're unable to make a decision on what's best for them. Is it the fault of the consumer regarding brand awareness or the advertiser?
In third world, people don't buy because things are being advertised. But in the developed world, it is very difficult for somebody to buy something which is not advertised. Actually, you find on many occasions in the developed world people taking on things because she has seen it in a catalog X or has seen it on television, and they buy online. Here we are not, in that system of buying online. But if we go that way, we may not necessarily need to look at something before you buy it. For as long as you are convinced by virtue of its artistic impression, the way it looks like, you are convinced. And on many occasions we think by the time somebody goes on air, the official regulatory bodies have looked at his or her product. That's where the problem comes in.
So the products are there, and there is certification, but there is also the kind of message that is being given by an advertiser. So do we have a body that actually checks adverts to make sure that they are not detrimental to social values, things of that nature?
Here in Uganda, I'm sorry to say, there is nobody. Actually, as a matter of fact, with due respect, that's why you hear on radios, everybody who has got the money to put an advert on radio, she goes on for it or goes in for it. Even on TV, that's why you're seeing so many herbalists, so many products you don't even know where it comes from because there is no regulatory body. Here in Uganda, to whom it may concern. But we, of course, as UMA, we are coming in to see that nobody should be allowed on air through UCC, Uganda Communications Commission, should come on air before his or her product has been certified, checked, certified, and approved for human consumption.
As we wrap this up, how does a consumer ensure that they get value for their money? Because adverts will be there, and
You know, quality speaks for itself, for sure. That is a fact. When you come to WBS here, there's somebody's going to tell you this is Chigozi BS. It is WBS, it's quality, it's quality. When you are buying a car, for example, and you are looking for a Mercedes-Benz from Spear, you cannot doubt a Mercedes-Benz. For the others, but a Mercedes has been, tested for time, and it is there. Even if you're when we are buying these tablets and iPads and so on, somebody talks of Apple, but when you see Huawei, and the names are not coming out clearly, you are risking. A quality thing remains quality. There is no doubt. And when you are going to get something qualitative, you will always tell. That's why, for instance, in hotels, they are categorized. If you are going for 1 star, you don't expect miracles. Compared to 5 star, automatically when you enter 5 star, it is a 5 star in appearance, in outlook, in reception, and everything. Nobody should deceive you that somebody cannot differentiate something good from bad.
Okay.
It's only the condition that sometimes force us to go in for cheap ones. And because we have no alternative, we simply go in for it. But when you know that what I'm buying is really not that. For instance, if you're buying a shirt and somebody is telling you a new shirt is at 10,000 and another one is taking 200,000, how would you think that really a 10,000 shirt
But we cannot use price to determine this. Yes, prices are there, and expensive things tend to be good quality, but sometimes it's also people trying to fleece others.
Yeah, but when you go down on the ground to get it physically, you will always tell. Somebody is advertising himself for selling merchandise in terms of textiles, and is saying shirts are going 10,000, 10,000. And another one of Winaclass, for example, is saying a shirt is 200,000. You will automatically know that there is a problem with this one as against the other.
Well, thank you so much. Time will not allow us for any more discussion. Thank you so much for coming.
Welcome.
Well, that was the Executive Director, Uganda Manufacturers Association, Sibagala Chigozi, discussing with us the aspect of advertising as regards quality and influence of consumer behavior. To stay with us, we return with the latest in the world of sports.
Stop chasing bonuses that don't last. Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom never expires and gives you up to 100% guaranteed bonus every time you load airtime. Simply dial *100#, select Bonga Forever Ever, and talk and text all networks with the bonus that lasts. Get Bonga Forever Ever from Uganda Telecom.
Uganda Telecom, Uganda's most affordable telecom service.
Welcome back to WBS Prime Sport. The Uganda Under-23 football team, the Cubs, have entered residential training ahead of their All-Africa Games qualifier against Mozambique on the 21st of February in Maputo. The national team coach, also Cranes coach Micho, has trimmed the number of players from 30 to 26.
This is the select team that starts residential training at the FUFA Technical Training Center at Njeru, where it is slated to have a week's training before departure to Maputo in Mozambique. According to the team's coach Micho Sredojevic, players will be under intensive training up to their set-off.
We shall be 25. We shall judge from those 25 which 16 field players. We shall have amongst 22 field players and 3 goalkeepers. From those, we shall take 16 field players and 2 goalkeepers to trip to Maputo to play against Mozambique in All African Games qualifiers coming Saturday.
The team is scheduled to have a friendly in South Africa before crossing to Mozambique for the All Africa Games tie.
This is a first match of this kind for this generation of players. I expect that some of the players that they have been before in national selections with experience are leading others, because so many players will be first time traveling by plane out of the country, and it will be a new experience for them.
Coach Mitchell was forced to trim off some players who wanted to take the encounter because of the challenge with getting them passports to travel with the rest of the team.
Absence of some of the players was because of fixing the issues of the passports in immigration. They have missed morning training session, so that from afternoon we are officially starting Operation Maputo.
The return leg will be in Kampala on the 7th of March at Lugogo KCCA grounds.
Well, that sums up the sports. Do stay with us for a summary of today's news.
News Summary is brought to you by
Everybody use Mobit Apple Jelly. Mobit is amazing. Mums and Mobit Apple Jelly. Mobit is the best. Mobit, all the confidence.
In our news summary, NRM caucus chair Kwanzi resolutions to have independents cross the floor and switch to any party likely to call for legal action. The proposal to return former President Idi Amin's remains from Saudi Arabia, treated as state-generated ploy to gain political mileage. The chairperson of the ad hoc committee investigating the SGR saga denies having interrogated U.S. diplomat due to presidential pressures. And the safety of judges is questioned. Street kid who posed as CEO of Street Kid Foundation under detention in Gulu. And the under-23 football team, the Cobs, have entered residential training ahead of their All-Africa Games qualifier against Mozambique.
News Summary is brought to you by
Everybody use Mobit Apple Jelly. Mobit is amazing. Mums and Mobit Apple Jelly. Mobit is the best. Mobit, all the confidence.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am Anita Mwangazi. Up Health is Health Corner. Good night.